I have been gentle since I was a child. When I was a child, my brothers and sisters competed to show off their literary talents, but I was the only one who was indifferent. After choosing a husband after the marriage, and the sisters all chose the Prime Minister's son, the general, the aunt asked me if I could marry that poor scholar. My mother winked hard at me, so anxious that the handkerchief was about to break. But in the complicated eyes of everyone, I slowly spat out a word. Let's go. Later, the poor scholar became a regent. Halfway through the discussion with his colleagues, he suddenly asked with a smile. Lily, can I get you a queen to play with? This Shangshu courtyard was kneeling on the ground in fright. They all looked at me tremblingly. I held the little white dog and nodded. Okay. 1. I got married on the same day as my second sister. One to the east, one to the west. She went to the general's mansion, and I went to the dilapidated house. She is 10 miles of red makeup, and I only have a few gold and silver that my mother has saved over the years. That day, my aunt asked me if I would like to marry a poor scholar, and after I said okay, my mother went back to the yard and lost her temper. She pointed at me and scolded me. He said that if he had known that I was so stupid, he would not have given birth to me at all. I stood quietly in the yard, lifted the fruit that the housekeeper had just given me, and asked her if she wanted to eat it. She choked and began to hate herself for being incompetent again. He hugged me and cried all night, saying he was sorry for me. My eyes were red too. Patted my mother's head and whispered, "Mother, don't cry, Ollie is fine. In fact, I don't think there's anything wrong with marrying a poor scholar." I heard a few words when the little girls in the house were chatting. The scholar's name is Xiao Qian, and he has been in Beijing for 3 years. He was photographed by countless princesses and princesses, and wanted to take him back as a male pet, but he did not agree. Unexpectedly, my father cast a net to find a husband's family for his daughters. There is even him among them. His family is poor, and there is nothing to fight for. I happen to be too lazy to fight, and I won't have so much trouble getting married. The most important thing is that the little girls say that this scholar has a good appearance. I rode a horse across Chang'an Street, and received flowers full of girls. I sat in the wedding carriage and was drowsy. When I looked up, Xiao Qi, a poor scholar who looked better than Panin, was standing in front of me in a red robe. The eyebrows are like paintings, and the beauty is as beautiful as jade. After looking at me, he pursed his lips and smiled, placing the hijab on the table next to him. Ask me if I'm hungry. I looked around the house. The adobe walls have been newly painted with a layer of white ash. In the middle was a half-old table of the 8 immortals, which was repeatedly wiped to shine. Although there is a shallow crack on the edge of the table, it is carefully wrapped in red cloth. When he saw me looking at me, he smiled and said, "Very poor, right? You came from a merchant family, and you have never seen such a dilapidated house, have you? If you really can't get used to it, you can go back to your parents' house." He smiled frankly and his eyebrows were soft. But as soon as she got married, the wife returned to her parents' house, which was a kind of contempt for her husband. That's how I set my sights on him. Shook his head and said, "I don't dislike it. Apple, do you want to eat it?" I raised the apple in my hand. This apple was stuffed into my hand by my mother in the morning. She told her to eat it after lifting the hijab. Keep me safe. At this moment, I have already thrown my mother's words out of the clouds. Seeing Xiao Qilong's unique beauty, I was fascinated. He took the initiative to ask me if I was hungry, and I wanted to repay something. He laughed out loud, got up and took the apple, and went to the kitchen. It didn't take long for him to come back, holding Yangchun noodles in one hand, braving the steam. A porcelain plate in one hand contains carefully peeled apples. He held the plate in front of me and asked gently, "Little rabbit, do you like it?" My eyes lit up. Pinched a little rabbit in surprise and smiled with narrowed eyes. Slow said, "So cute. Come and eat." This morning I told Xinyang that it would be uncomfortable for you to toss for a day without eating, and she said this is the rule. I shook my head and said it was okay. I didn't talk much, and he was almost talking about a meal. He was more honest than any man I had ever seen. Well, I haven't seen a few men either. My father has been a layman all year round, and every time he comes back, it is not my turn to be close to him, and he is very good at calculating. Butler Zhang of the Li Mansion is an old gentleman, although he has a good temper, he is like a smiling tiger. Then there are the brothers, who are smart and outstanding, but unfortunately we are still not familiar with each other. It's the Xiao Qian in front of me. He said that his parents didn't want him when he was very young. The provincial examination is held every 3 years. He did not participate last time because of the long distance, so he simply came to the capital and waited for the next exam. I found a dilapidated house that no one wanted, and I tinkered with it. He made a living by copying books, ghostwriting, and teaching private schools. After he finished talking about himself, I also ate half a bowl of noodles. After eating a few apples, hand him the chopsticks. You eat. 2. I have no pursuit of fame and fortune. I can eat when I am hungry and sleep when I am sleepy, which is very satisfying for me. But Xiao Qian seemed to be very worried about me. Before going to bed, we put on our clothes and went to sleep. He asked repeatedly in a low voice, "Are you homesick? I can send you back. I am not in the same world as him." Grabbed his sleeve and said, "My mother said that the marriage will be consummated on the night of the wedding." He stopped talking. Even breathing became lighter. After a long time, he stumbled and said, "Don't worry. Leave you room for remorse." I silently said in my heart that I would not regret it. The days after getting married are very ordinary, but they are much more interesting than when I was in the Li family. We live in the suburbs of Beijing, with beautiful scenery. Xiaoqing reads in the morning and goes to make money in the afternoon. I didn't disturb him to study, I just ran around and played. Save a sparrow from a tree today. Tomorrow I will chase the rabbit and run out for 2 miles. That was the first time Xiao Qian frowned at me. He said, "You are a girl, what are you running around in this wilderness?" I said gently, "I'm not stupid, I can find it home." Is this a stupid question? Instead, he realized that his tone was heavy, and softened his tone. "I know that if you don't have anyone to accompany you, you will be bored. But you give me a few days, and I'll let you live a good life." Since that day, Xiao Qian has had less and less time to study. Even for several days away from home. When I left home for half a month for the first time, I thought he was going to make a name for himself, and didn't want to take me to live a good life. I was just about to pack up and go home when he rode into the yard. The two of us looked at each other speechlessly, and the atmosphere was a little awkward. After a long time, he asked dryly, "What are you doing?" "I thought you didn't want me anymore, I'm going home." I don't know if it's my delusion, I always feel that something has changed in him. Eyes? Or temperament? In short, the warmth of the first meeting is gone. It has become much sharper. He quickly flew off his horse. He took out a small box of jewelry from his arms like a treasure. "When I married you, I didn't give you anything good, but now I'll make up for it for you, do you like it?" He opened the box. The gold hairpin inside is not even on my mother's head. I was stunned. Subconsciously said, "Are you close to the princess?" Xiao Qian's expression was complicated, "How come?" "That's what I earned." It turned out that half a month ago, he went to the south with the caravan to do business. He has read books, has a flexible mind, and eats a lot of oil and water after seeing opportunities. Therefore, the income of this half-month caught up with his usual copying of books for half a year. I smiled sweetly, thinking he was amazing. When he saw me laughing, he breathed a sigh of relief and quickly put the hairpin on my bun. "Take away my little baggage." He held my shoulders and said seriously, "I won't want you, I was in a hurry a few days ago, and I didn't wake you up when I saw you still sleeping, so I won't do it again." I nodded. He tied a horse he didn't know where he got it to a tree to cook. I squatted in front of the horse and looked up at him grazing. He asked me loudly how I was eating these days. I said, "Eat whatever you want." He was very distressed and added 3 chicken legs to me in one meal. "Actually," I said it casually, "I can cook. But I don't want to cook at home in the future." After eating, he didn't know where to get the wooden board to make a swing for me. I said yes obediently and praised him sweetly. Praised him so much that his face turned red. There was a rustling sound at the door. I followed the sound and saw a woman with a rat's head standing at the door of the yard and peeking her head. I know this person, the matchmaker and chignon who sent me to the sedan chair in the Lee mansion at that time. She saw me and hurriedly ran over with a handful of snot and tears. As he spoke, he was about to kneel. "Miss, it's really confusing. That poor scholar is not called Xiao Qian. It's called Xiao Zhen. This. The old slave made a mistake." The persimmon in my hand fell to the ground. And Xiao Qian, who was sawing wood over there, also stopped what he was doing. 3. I was a little at a loss. Because the eyes of the old woman and Xiao Qian are focused on me. Xiao Qian not only had expectations in his eyes, but also a hint of despair. But I just calmly asked, "What's going on?" Xinyan explained tremblingly. She said that the master originally said that he would send a post to all the men of school age in the city. She originally wanted to blame Xiao, but the little girl misheard it, wrote Xiao Qi's name, and sent it by mistake. At that time, the family was busy, and no one noticed this small mistake. After everything settled, Xiao Zhen came to the door. "Didn't I reply to the post a long time ago? How could it be gone after accepting the bride price?" Only then did this couple know that the girl was sent to Zhao's house. After hearing this, I suddenly realized. No wonder the paste of safflower outside the house hadn't dried when I came. No wonder the bride price is as simple as a temporary makeup. After doing it for a long time, it was really temporary. I'm hee. When the old woman saw that I didn't speak, she grabbed me and wanted to leave. "Miss, you have to go back with me. Xiao Ji has given the bride price. Why do you have to cross paths?" I competed with her and refused to take half a step forward. He said slowly, "I'm not leaving." Xiao Qian was relieved when he heard this. I quickly put down the saw, walked quickly, and forcefully pulled my hand out of the old woman's hand. "This is my wife." I pretended to be timid and hid behind Xiao Qian's broad shoulders and whispered, "Can't you return the bride price?" "This, miss, the bride price is." They were all gambled by the young master. Now Xiao Zhen has come to the house again, and no one dares to tell the master. "You can go back." Li Kuo is the youngest child in the family and the most worry-free. Every day I ran to the casino, and my father broke several sticks in order to repair him. But the aunt loves her youngest son, and as long as the master is not at home, all this kind of disaster will be stopped by her. Xiao Qian's air pressure was low, and he said unhappily, "But I also accepted the post, and I also sent the bride price, so there is no reason to send my wife back." My heart was crossed. "I won't go back, we have consummated our marriage." Xiao Qian grabbed my hand tightly, making me ache. I said, "I will return the betrothal gift, you go." The old woman heard that Li, who was born of the Li family, was a fool, but she didn't expect that at this moment there was a master to see it tightly. Since she said so, she didn't want to lose her old face here. I had to compromise. "Then I have to take out something and let me go back and cross temporarily." At this moment, the only thing worth to me is the gold hairpin he put on my head just now. I poked Xiao Qian's waist from behind and asked in a low voice. "Hairpin?" Xiao Qian ignored me. "Prepare to take out the close-fitting jade pendant from your arms." The jade pendant was the only thing his parents left him. How can it be sent out like this? I hugged his arm and pulled the gold hairpin from his head. "Here. But you have to show me the bill, refund more and make up less, otherwise I will tell the aunt." She hurriedly said yes and left satisfied. Xiao Qian looked at me sideways. The emotions in his eyes were complicated. Pity, guilt, and even hidden. Ruthless. I tiptoed to cover his eyes and said gently, "Don't look at me like that." He gently took my hand down, slightly strained his forearm, and pulled me into his arms. The gentle mint and pine nut flavor mixed with the ink fragrance enveloped me in an instant. He whispered in my ear, "I will give you better later." I hesitated for a moment, wrapped my arms around his waist, and patted him twice on the back as comfort. 4. Fortunately, the hairpin was able to offset the bride price. The old woman is also a trustworthy person and returned some silver to me. It's just that since that day, Xiao Qian has been away from home more and more. Although he is busy, there are also changes in the family. I moved from the suburbs of Beijing to the city. He changed from coarse linen to cheesecloth, and from cheesecloth to silk cloth. Even the gold jewelry in the small box was piled up. Xiao Qian was afraid that I would not be able to eat hot food, so he hired an old maid to cook. I said no need to spend money. He also asked me not to save him money, and he married me back just to make me happy. I didn't speak, but my face became more and more rounded as I ate. I call the old maid Aunt Xiao. Don't live with us, make 3 meals a day and leave. But she is a jack of all trades in the capital, and she finds a lot of new things when she strolls around the street. On this day, I was cooking and chatting with me. Cautiously asked, "Xiaoli, do you have anything to do with the merchant Li family in the capital?" I sat on a small bench and propped my chin up. "What's wrong?" "I heard that the youngest son of the Li family is called Qua, and he provoked someone he shouldn't have messed with, and his hand was interrupted. After the woman got married, her relationship with her mother's family became even weaker." I didn't know these things, so I shook my head and didn't answer. I feel happy. As soon as Xiao Qian came back the next day, I shared this with him. He said lightly, "Really?" There was no surprise. He also asked me if I was happy to hear the news. I was rummaging through his pocket for some good things he brought me back, and I casually replied, "Of course I'm happy." He touched my head and conjured a glazed jade hairpin like a trick, and pinned it on my head. As if enjoying the most beautiful scenery, he boasted, "It's so beautiful." I didn't think much about why he wasn't surprised. After all, since Xiao Qian has been working hard outside for a long time, his temperament has become more and more calm. He also smiled in front of me. When he went out, he often wrote to me. But this time he left home, and the handwriting of the last letter was not his. But the letter said that Xiao Qian had an accident and suffered a serious leg injury, and he asked me to pack up my things and go home. I didn't think much about it at the time. Is it heavy or multiple? I just thought that if his leg was injured and he was lying in bed recovering, I would cook and go out to make money. It turned out later that I was still too naive. On the day Xiao Qian came back, and Xiao happened to take a leave of absence. The door I opened myself. But I didn't recognize it at all. The old man drove a broken cart with hay on it. I thought I was asking for food, so I took out 2 copper plates from my pocket. "Give it to me." He waved his hand and pointed to the back. This person showed me the way, I sent it, and I continued to practice. I took a closer look. It turned out that there was a person lying here, blocked by hay. "It's as dirty as coal." I said, "What is this?" "You went wrong." I was about to send him away when I suddenly saw those familiar eyes. I can identify half a stick of incense. After thinking about countless possible reasons in his head, he hesitated to speak. "Xiao xiao xiao." Chi. He was probably awake. Because he watched. Just didn't blink, like a dead fish. His face was so thin that he fell off the cart. I calmed down. Just as I was about to help him, the old man shouted to me, "Be careful, don't kill me." I was not happy at once. My husband went out well. How can you accidentally get killed? 5. I called the husband of the eldest sister next door, and worked with me to get Xiao Qian into the house. But he didn't move his expression along the way, and my heart was wrinkled. After thanking the eldest brother, stuffed some silver taels into the old man. I went into the house after sending them away. Calmly boiled hot water, scalded the scissors, and prepared to change his clothes. But when I cut open the rags on his body and saw the wounds that looked like they had been abused, I still cried out of anger. Tears hit his hands and he shook. Turning his head mechanically, he looked at me. He raised his hand to wipe my tears. But when his hand was in mid-air, he put it down stiffly. He said in a rough voice, "Go back." I cried even louder. His face was pale, so the bulging blue veins on his forehead were particularly obvious. I cried and changed his clothes. But to be honest, I'm still a little embarrassed. Even if I think about it now, I'm still a little nervous. Xiao Qian can only say they're spectacular. I concentrate on wiping every inch of dirt. He also applied the medicine he had prepared at home. He was sweating profusely in pain. After covering him with a quilt, I rummaged through the boxes and cabinets looking for silver. Ran out to find the doctor non-stop. But after changing several doctors back and forth, they all shook their heads and said they couldn't be cured. Because the patient's will to die is particularly strong. Aunt Xiao was shocked when she came back. I hurriedly dragged her into the yard, stuffed her with the only silver left at home, and told her that she wouldn't use it in the future. Aunt Xiao is a person and understands where there will be a good person being mutilated like this. He nodded and ran away. None of Xiao Qi's new friends who often came to his house for dinner in the past came back. I pawned all the jewelry he gave me. I searched all over the doctors in the city. Some people simply didn't come after listening to me describe the injury. Some came just to treat skin trauma and earn some money. I don't dare to beg in front of Xiao Qi. Whenever the doctor is embarrassed, I will take him out of the yard and ask him to give it a try. Money is not a problem. I also went back to find my mother. My mother asked me to go home, but I refused and ran home despite her anger. In the end, I had to hope for this last doctor. He sighed and shook his head. All these bones are broken, and the middle is full of soft flesh, which is obviously broken by someone with internal force, and it cannot be cured. Girl, I see that you are still young, your husband is obviously messing with someone, you should hurry up and run, so as not to be affected, it is only a matter of time before he dies. I pursed my lips and just stuffed him with some silver, and told him not to talk nonsense. I cook in silence. Suddenly remembered that he refused to eat before. I didn't know where the courage came from then. He poured himself a mouthful of porridge, pinched his cheeks, and pushed his tongue in. That time, he was honest. Today I cooked porridge and prepared to feed him spoonfuls. He suddenly spoke. Did you hear that? Everyone advises you to go, you go. The sound was rough like dead wood cutting across the ground. I never lost my temper. At this moment, when he heard his words, he was furious and said loudly, I won't leave. These days, I can't eat well and sleep well, and I have to turn him over every other stick of incense, for fear of having bedsores. He held back his urine until his face turned blue, and I had to pay attention to it, for fear of suffocating. Although I am not favored at home, I have not suffered much. Said that he could cook, but in fact he hadn't done it a few times, he only stayed at being able to cook. Chopping wood, washing, brushing pots, sweeping the floor, everything fell on me. The wounds on the hands were one after another. The rounded face is also getting smaller and smaller. I became more and more aggrieved, put the porridge on the table, and cried and asked, what will you do if I leave? No one cares about you. Fool. I can't connect the dilapidated person at the moment with the young man who married me half a year ago. I don't know what he has been through this month, I just know that he has been good to me, and I can't abandon him when he is in trouble. It's that simple. He closed his eyes in pain, and a stream of tears slid down the corners of his eyes. He said softly, Lily, I don't want to live anymore. 6. I found Aunt Xiao and asked her to help me find out where someone could cure my leg injury. Aunt Xiao gave me an answer today. The god mysteriously pointed to the red wall on the east side and whispered, "In the palace." I smiled and thanked him obediently. Took out most of the silver and ran to hit something. Soon it bottomed out. But I don't dare to delay. I'm afraid that after a long time, it won't be completely cured. That day at dusk, I went home dejectedly. Suddenly someone stopped me and said that the circus from Bianliang was short of a performer. Ask me if I'm interested. I swallowed gently. What do you mean? He said that the female guinea pig was missing an anthropomorph. As long as I turn into a guinea pig and squat next to it to learn guinea pigs. I was cautious. Why are you looking for me? Oh, isn't this a performance tonight? The little girl suddenly said that she had something to do. Oh, she was in a hurry. If you don't want to, then I'll ask someone else. Our circus is at the entrance of the vegetable market. After he finished speaking, he planned to ask the next girl. I quickly grabbed his sleeve and said, I'm going. Circus performances often arrive very late. But the reward is generous, enough for me and Xiao Qian to eat for half a month. I do have a slow temperament, and the temperament of a guinea pig is a bit similar. So I played it effortlessly. Many people cheered and the money fell on me. The boss kept hinting at me to accompany me to please him. I had no choice but to squat on the ground and shake my hands on my chest to show happiness. I suddenly felt a gaze that could not be ignored. This gaze made me feel ashamed for no reason. I didn't know where the line of sight was coming from until the crowd was about to disperse. Xiao Qian lay on the ground, staring at me with red eyes. I ran to the straw shed behind the stage as if I were running away. I hope Xiao Qian thinks he has admitted his mistake. But when I got my wages and came out of the shed, Xiao Qian was lying on his stomach at the door, with one leg hanging limply on his body. Passers-by walked around. But I can't. This is Xiao Qi. I can't take a detour. I stood in front of him dejectedly like a child who had done something wrong. The boss was happily counting the money and came out, and saw Xiao Qian and me in embarrassment. He hesitated and was surprised. This is... Xiao Qian wished he could hide his head in the ground. I hurriedly ran over to help Xiao Qian up, but said slowly but firmly, "My husband Xiao Qian." The boss was not bad. Seeing that it was difficult for the two of us to go home, he quickly arranged a scooter. I was as strong as an ox and pulled the cart home. I asked, "Why did you come out of nowhere?" "My hands are rubbed with skin. I'll rub the medicine for you when I go back." "I see that the medical center sells crutches, let me buy you one." Saying that, I rushed into the medical center and happily bought a crutch with the money I had just issued. Xiao Qian is willing to go out. I'm happy. Passing by the bun shop, I bought 2 more buns. I am a vegetarian, and Xiao Qian eats meat. Passing by the eldest sister's house next door, she happened to come out to pour foot washing water. He only saw me poking his head and asked, "Where have you been?" "Just now your husband went out to find you, worried that you would be in danger." I blushed and pulled the cart into my eldest sister's field of vision. We came back together, and he went to pick me up from work. It was already midnight after eating. He said something unprecedented to help her up. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. I needed to force myself to eat before. Lily, don't go to the doctor for medicine in the future, let alone be an animal and be teased. This leg is useless, I will change the road in the future. I was stunned. Xiao Qian is willing to live. Xiao Qian is willing to live. 7. Since that day, Xiao Qian has begun to practice walking with crutches at home. He began to fall again, and his body was blue and purple. I asked him how he got hurt. He didn't say anything but told me that the less I knew, the better. Sometimes I write small notes late at night, and when I write them, I send carrier pigeons to send them out. He is very powerful. once he has the will to survive, he can learn everything quickly. Soon he was able to walk away on crutches, about the same pace as a normal person. I don't know what he's doing, but I'm starting to leave early and return late. I started cooking again and served me comfortably every day. But I know that he broke his leg and was suppressed in pain. Therefore, I did not give up taking money and begging the palace people. On this day, when I came back from exhaustion, I suddenly saw a luxurious sedan chair parked in front of my house. I hurriedly ran in, worried that something would happen to Xiao Qian again. But it was still the same as when I left, but there was a depressed roar coming from the house. I pushed open the door, but I didn't expect my second sister Li Wen to be covering her mouth with a handkerchief, and her eyes were red. And the imperial physician was sitting by the window, treating Xiao Qi. I was stunned. Second sister. The second sister turned her head, and was about to cry when she saw me. The news that you went to the palace to beg for help has reached my ears. Why don't you tell me? I thought I was not familiar with the second sister. Stunned in place. The second sister stepped forward with heartache and held my little face. Good boy, it's all like this. Suddenly I was concerned about this sister who hadn't said a few words to me, and I was strangely embarrassed. Lowered his head and whispered, "It's nothing, second sister." That night, the second sister drank wine in the yard and stuffed me with a lot of silver before leaving. Saying that the money was not enough, he went to the house to ask for it, and there was no matter what concubine was between the sisters. When I was a child, my second sister was naughty, and she always pushed it on my head when she got into trouble. It seems that there was no white back in the first place. Xiao Qian also drank wine that night. He kissed me again. I dodged back a little. He quickly apologized and said he wouldn't do it again. I felt like I was in my heart. I had to pinch the corner of his clothes and whisper, "I didn't let you kiss me, you kiss, it's so comfortable." He laughed. I haven't seen such a bright smile in a long time. I laughed too. The second sister's sentence of training did not cause any harm to me, but gave Xiao Qian a deep blow. He didn't know where he got the pearl paste and urged me to apply it every day and night. Before leaving in the morning, take a warm towel to wipe my hands and face, kiss my lips, tuck the corner of the quilt and leave lightly. At noon, I came back covered in wind and frost. Whether I was awake or asleep, I had to feed me, and after feeding, I left again. After I took a bath at night, he even had to wipe my hair with his own hands. It was so exaggerated that except for my bath, he arranged everything for me. The strength of those days was like a dream. I have regained my lazy and gentle temper. 10 fingers are not touched by the spring water, and as soon as I open my mouth, my husband and I are hungry. The person who treats the Son of Heaven is powerful. Gradually, Xiao Qian no longer used crutches, and went from limping to not being injured. The face also has more flesh. And I don't know if Panan is in the eyes of the lady. He was even more handsome than when he first met me. From immature and youthful to more city style and ambitious. 8. Xiao Qian and I moved again. This time it became a big mansion with 3 in and 3 out. He was very busy outside, but he was afraid that I would be bored, so he came back one day and brought me a little white dog. I was so surprised. Hugging him, kissed and laughed. He held my back and asked me if I liked it. I held the puppy in the palm of my hand and was overjoyed. "Madam, I like it so much. Give me a name." I thought for a while and said with a smile, "Your name is Xiao Xiao." After hearing this, he suddenly smiled maliciously and took my hand and touched his lower abdomen. The voice was so low that it seemed to have magic. "Lili, Xiao Xiao is here." I was angry and ashamed, and ran 3 feet away with my arms around the puppy. He laughed out loud behind me. Finally, the puppy was named Pear Cub, and by the way, he ignored Xiao Qian, who was playing a hooligan for 3 days. Now that I have a Pear Cub, I will take it out to show off in 3 days. It's just that something seems to have happened to the imperial court recently. There are always rumors among the people that the return of the true dragon lineage and the restoration of the country by providence. I find it strange. When Xiao Qian came back in the evening, I nestled in his arms and asked him what he meant. Xiao Qian casually played with the ends of my hair and asked me. My family is a family of merchants, and I have rarely heard of the imperial court. But according to so many scripts I have read, something strange must have happened. Xiao Qian pinched my cheek and said softly, Li Li is so smart. It's too turbulent outside, don't run around with the pear cub recently. I nodded meekly and said yes. The next day, a large number of people in black were hiding everywhere in my house. Especially where I live. I complained to Xiao Qian that it was too exaggerated, and no matter how turbulent it was outside, it had nothing to do with us. Xiao Qian answered incorrectly, asking me what kind of yard I liked. I was immediately attracted by his question, and began to imagine my new home in the future. Xiao Qian is like the king of the wishing pool. Soon I moved into the big house where I made my wishes. The small bridge flows like flowing water, and the idle courtyard is filled with wild cranes. She also inexplicably participated in the crowning ceremony and became a princess. No matter how stupid I am, I should know who the real dragon is, not to mention that I am not stupid at all. I looked at Xiao Qian wearing the prince's robe like a ghost and stammered, You, aren't you a poor scholar? Xiao Qian then confessed the truth to me. He is not a wild child without a father or mother at all. At the age of 13, he was found by the Jin Wang party from his adoptive parents' house, saying that he was of orthodox blood from the previous dynasty, and an orphan of the Jin king. The jade pendant is the evidence of identification. They invited him back to Beijing to inherit orthodoxy. But at that time, Xiao Qian understood that if he went back, he would only become a puppet for them to seize power. He accepted this fact. He began to study and enrich himself, and changed his face, and lurked in the capital. I asked, then should you be surnamed Zhao? That doesn't matter. Lily, if it weren't for you, I would never ask for any power or wealth in this life. But at that time, when you married me, your eyes were so pure that I felt ashamed and painful when I thought that you were going to live a simple life with me. I said, but you didn't mean to marry me. I really didn't want to get married, because that meant more responsibility. But when the post was handed to me, I hesitated. This was the only chance I could marry you, and even I thought that the Li family didn't take you seriously. I was very angry. It would be better for me to marry it back and raise it well. I couldn't think about it any more. He explained. It turned out that when I was a child, I gave a bowl of rice to a poor child who came to Beijing to take the exam. At that time, during the Chinese New Year, snow was falling all over the city, and poor children almost froze to death on the streets. When the little girl who ran out to play secretly saw it, she came out with a large bowl of food, and wished him peace and joy. I don't even remember it myself. I asked, so you haven't been in Beijing for 2 years, have you been in the capital all the time? Then why did you give the jade pendant out at that time? Because I want the Jin Wang party to think that the real orphan is Xiaozhen, not me. If I want power, it can only be me who dominates, not others. Then what's wrong with your injury? At first, Xiao Qian just wanted to make money simply. But the Jin royal party didn't know where to get the rumors, and they actually wanted to kill him, and even the emperor sent troops to secretly stir up the situation. Once he was a businessman, he was caught and abused, and then a carload of people was killed and let him go. It turned out that there were also 2 factions in the Jin Wang party. One faction is to kill orphans and help others to become emperors. One faction adheres to orthodoxy. At that time, he thought his legs were not getting better. A cripple who also drags down his wife, and does not deserve to live. Behind me was moved by me and vowed to seize power. My heart was broken, and I secretly scolded men for being liars. At the beginning, I praised him for being honest. I was drowsy. He turned over and hugged his waist and said, Sir, it would be great if you succeeded. But if you fail, I will die with you. I said this on purpose. After all, he failed, and I would definitely die. But if I am willing to die, it is two different things. That night, he hugged me tighter and tighter as he slept. I shouted that it was hot, and he didn't let go. 9. In the first month after I became a princess, I took my mother to live for a while. My mother's wish for her daughter to become a phoenix has come true. This month is particularly pleasing to the eye. I didn't mention the matter of making me divorce, but it began to give birth. I thought she was nagging and wanted to send it back. Before leaving, my mother grabbed me with great interest. Then Shinyong told me that you two have already consummated your marriage. Why hasn't your stomach moved for so long? Ollie, my mother knows that you find me annoying, but I still have to say that only with children can I stabilize my position. Although the prince is spoiled by you now, a man's love is unreliable. You have to have your own support too. I interrupted her and said solemnly, Mother, it's wrong, in fact, you already have a granddaughter. My mother was overjoyed and wanted to listen to it when she touched my stomach. I lifted the pear cub, held it on his lap, grabbed her front paws, and shook it. Pear cub, call my grandmother. My mother's face turned green. He snorted coldly and returned to the Lee mansion without looking back. Since then, as soon as my mother gave birth, I have said everywhere that the pear cub is my mother's granddaughter. People like them who are fine are idle. Within a few days, the circle said that my mother's silly daughter had exerted her strength again. She never mentioned it again. I don't know what's going on, but this matter also reached Xiaoqi's ears. He came back at night and looked at me eagerly. I was hairy by him. I got into the bed and was hugged by him, kissing me so hard that I couldn't breathe. The lower abdomen was held by a hard object. I moved, trying to dodge. He held me down and told me not to move. I whispered, Sir, we have been married for so long, why do you only kiss, and not consummate the marriage? Your thing won't be useless, right? I said softly and slowly. On the contrary, Xiao Qian's breathing became more and more heavy. I shut up. He took a deep breath and let go of me. He whispered, Lily, when I succeed in the future, you must know whether I can do it or not. I asked, what does it mean? Make sure you and your children have a safe and smooth life. He kissed my forehead and put me to sleep. I heard in a daze that he seemed to ask his servants to prepare water and take a bath. His power grew. I don't know what a great law is. I only know that my life is getting better and better, there are more and more servants in the house, and the cost of food and clothing even exceeds that of my aunt. The wives and children of this minister and the general often visit. Today I will be invited to enjoy the flowers, and tomorrow I will be invited to go out for a picnic. I didn't bother to go, so I refused them all. Xiao Qian praised me for being smart. At this time, no one should be seen. I responded. No explanation. I just vaguely felt that Xiao Qian was going to do something again. Sure enough, the emperor died suddenly a few days later. He united with the Jin royal party to mobilize the Qin king's side, overthrew the new emperor, and established a puppet young emperor. He took control of real power as a hero of the restoration of the country. But I don't understand these either. He told me everything. From that day on, he became regent. And I lay down and became the lady of the regent. I was surprised to find that now my father was going to salute when he saw me. Make it impossible to make it impossible. My father will always be my father. 10. I was not interested in the affairs of the court, but I thought about writing a notebook. After all, I don't usually like to do anything, and the only thing that is most diligent in my body is my eyes. I haven't forgotten what my mother told me last year. A man's love is indeed not necessarily reliable. If I have my own income, even if he doesn't like me in the future, I won't starve. Xiao Qian doesn't have to run around now, but those pot-bellied men have begun to come to my house. They never shy away from me. So I have looked carefully. Among all the men, my husband is indeed the most handsome and capable. I also feel a little proud in my heart. Usually in the study of the house, they talk about policy strategies. I sat next to Xiao Qian and wrote with concentration. The pear cub was also lying on my lap, very well behaved. At first someone wanted me to avoid it. Xiaoqing was unhappy and said coldly, "There is no need to avoid the word in front of my wife." For the first time, I knew that Xiao Qian could be so fierce. When I looked up, he looked down at me, and a smile appeared on his lips. "You are a man who still has two faces." I secretly contacted the bookstore for processing and compilation, but I didn't expect the release to go smoothly. It went so smoothly that I didn't even receive the manuscript fee in person. It was still given to me by Xiao Qian. I was stunned. He tilted his head and smiled far-fetched, his eyes were oppressive. "Lily, what kind of money is this? When will you and I still have secrets?" I immediately pretended to be pitiful. "You are usually so busy, how can I be willing to bother you, and let you arrange unnecessary things?" He fell for the trick at once. He hugged me and said sorry guiltily, promising to accompany me more in the future. From that day on, I wrote one and was released. It went so well that I doubted it. How could I, who have survived on the edge of the school since I was a child, be so talented? So I began to write blindly, dreaming of which sentence to write. All of them were also published. I understood it all at once. "Regent, don't get involved in this little thing. This is for me to support myself in order to encounter future mishaps." Of course, I didn't dare to tell the truth. In another way, he said pitifully, "My lord, you are too busy, don't worry about my words in the future. I'm too bored all day long, and I don't like to talk, it's embarrassing if you don't let me write whatever I write." He quickly promised not again. I kissed the corner of his lips with satisfaction. In exchange for an overwhelming kiss. It feels like this guy can't help it more and more. They were having a meeting that day. It seemed that there was a quarrel, and I couldn't understand it even if I eavesdropped. He said half of his words and suddenly stopped speaking. Instead, he smiled and asked me, "Lily, can I get you a queen to play with?" Everyone catapulted and started, kneeling on the ground in fright. They all looked at me tremblingly. How do I understand current affairs? My husband naturally has his reasons for saying this. I had no choice but to hold the little white dog and nodded, "Okay." Xiao Qi's iron-blooded methods were vigorous. When I was taken to the palace that day, I thought it was the emperor who wanted to see me. Thinking about it, the real person in power is Xiao Qi. He took me to a glorious palace and asked me if I liked it. I said yes. He let go, "This will be your palace from now on." Huh? Moved again? I haven't packed my things yet. No need to clean up, I'll order everyone to come later. What did I think of, call him a gentleman? He knew that every time I called my husband, I was to be coquettish. Standing there and looking at me still, waiting for me to speak. Suddenly hugged him and said, "Let go of my second sister, she saved your life." Xiaoqing was overjoyed. "Lili, the second sister's husband helped me take back the military power, and I have no reason to deal with him." I nodded, and before he left, I urged, "Be sure to bring the pear cub." He said yes dotingly. 11. My mother is not as calm as me. On the day of the seal, I didn't cry myself. She cried first. He hugged me and said that he had finally survived. I said, "It's not that simple." It's really not that simple. Because on the day of the ceremony, Xiao Qian and I were married for the third time. He didn't touch me the first two roundabouts. Can I still escape this time? Therefore, when Xiao Qian pushed aside my layers of clothes, I was the main guest, and I raised my leg to hook his waist. He was shocked. "Lily, how? You?" I put my arms around his neck and kissed him. "If you read a lot of words, you will understand." I was tossed and turned by him all night. For some reason, I suddenly thought of the fish he had grilled for me the other day. Both the front and back sides should be taken into account. His voice was hoarse. Lily, am I not useful? I said no. I thought I could stop, but it was another round of pressing. I cried, and he still didn't listen to me. The next day, I slept in the dark. But Xiao Qian is like a pear cub. Once he develops a habit, he can't change it. I was sleeping soundly at noon, and I was held in my arms. The spoons were handed to his mouth. I turned my head and asked him to go away, and not disturb my sleep. He coaxed me and said he would take a bite. The eunuch palace maid knelt on the ground, wishing she had no ears. Originally, this life was very good. But Xiao Qian became emperor, which meant that it was his responsibility to pass on the lineage. I didn't care at first. Anyway, they will only annoy Xiao Qian. I just need to be clean. I didn't expect that group of people to be pervasive. He even began to persuade me to let Xiao Qian draft. I spread my hands, that's his freedom. Later, I saw that the two of us had the same caliber. He then made all his efforts to stuff women into the harem. This has touched my bottom line. I had to be a little angry with Xiao Qian. Moved back to Cunning Palace from Qianqing Palace. I also have to pack up and run away from home with the pear cubs. I even began to study the law to see how much property my husband and wife could divide from me. With so many properties, I should be able to get some right. What about the palace? How to divide the palace? Oh, this is not written on it. I was thinking wildly in the garden, and the notebook in my hand was suddenly taken away. A gritted voice came from overhead, law. What do you want to do? Lily. I didn't speak. I was already uncomfortable. I'm afraid that what will fall out of my mouth is not bad words but tear beans. You didn't want to reconcile with me when I was so disabled, but now you want to reconcile, right? I said, but they have stuffed others into your study, and I will have no etiquette if I don't leave. I don't want to share a man with others. He sighed, squatted in front of me, rubbed my head, and teased the pear cub again. Lily, I have ordered someone to send that woman out of the palace. I swear, I didn't touch her. What's the use? These days I'm also thinking about how to get these annoying flies out, and show you my new edict. He stretched out his hand to the side, and the prince offered it with great discernment. I unfolded it and looked at it. In short, any virtuous person in the royal lineage can be cultivated by heirs. When every emperor succeeds to the throne, he has the right to choose whether to recruit beauties and open a harem. I pouted, what about you? How do you choose? He laughed, I will definitely only choose Lily. He leaned over and hugged me into his arms and whispered, Lily, Emile has established my love for you. And you, who pulled me back from the edge of life and death, established my love for you in this life until death. No one can make me so desperate. Do you remember when you said that if I failed, you would die with me? I remember. How can I be willing to let you die with me? I left a way out. Please ask a friend who lives far away in Lingnan. Once the matter shows signs of revelation, I will secretly send you out of the capital to keep you worry-free for the rest of your life. You can worry about what to eat, what to watch, what to write tomorrow, but never worry about one day I will no longer be loyal to you. Because you are what I pursue in this life. I hugged him. Tell him not to say it anymore, and say sorry in a twisted manner. He instantly took off his disguise and said aggrievedly, you won't apologize to me at all, you know how to be coquettish and avoid problems. One to the east, one to the west. I stood up and pulled me back to eat. The cold and steady emperor turned into a mother-in-law's puppy in front of me. Xiaoqing always felt that I had lost weight in the past 4 days since I moved out. I watched him pick up vegetables for me. He paused and asked me what's wrong. I shook my head and obediently lowered my head to eat. Just thinking in my heart. Fool Xiao. It's not because I'm good at all, so I'm good to you. Obviously because the world treats me like a mustard, but you treat me like a treasure. I'm good to you. Finish.